WBAP.
WBAP.com.
WBAP.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's the Chris Salcedo Show. That's a trend I've been seeing, and actually, I'm a product of this trend around the United States. A whole generation brought up to fear guns, irrationally so. There's a difference between respecting and fearing guns. And I think that somebody has undertaken a project that's going to remedy this. His name is Yehuda Remer. He is an Orthodox Jew, author of Safety On, an introduction to the world of firearms for children. He was raised in the liberal Mecca of Los Angeles, where his love for conservatism grew, leading him to work for our friend Ben Shapiro and Young Conservatives. Mr. Remer, welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show.
Thanks for having me.
The book that you have written intrigued me when you reached out to me online to tell me about it. So tell me about the book.
The book is a book, like you said, it's an introduction to the world of firearms for children. It is a guide, more of a open door for parents to bring up the topic of gun safety and living with guns and being around guns in a very kid-friendly, easy-to-read way.
Yeah, I got to say that there was a time, and of course I had to talk to my parents and my grandparents. There was a time when firearms were no big deal. They were respected, and they were every bit a part of Americana. But then, in my estimation, it's the liberal left who worked to demonize the firearm, and of course, the Second Amendment protections that we have here in the United States. Tell me what inspired you to write this book. What event?
What event? I had a good buddy of mine. Well, I have a good buddy of mine who lives in Los Angeles, and now I live in Texas. But when I used to live in L.A., he got me into guns, and up until that point, I never thought that I grew up very apolitical, so I didn't believe that a civilian, just a normal person, can carry a firearm. I thought, cops, people in the army, and bad guys. Only people that carried firearms. I was never introduced to the Second Amendment. Once my friend introduced me to firearms and got me into it, I bought my first few guns. I loved it. And people started asking me, how do you live with guns in the home when you have kids? And I countered that question with, well, what do you suggest I teach my children about guns? Should I leave that up to the media in Hollywood? And obviously, as a good conservative, the answer is definitely no. And that prompted me to write a book that I could read to my children. And as my children learn to read, they can read it to themselves just to have it.
It's funny. I have my brother is still out in, or my brothers, I should say, are still out in Southern California. And one of my brothers, and it's just odd because here in Texas, because we cherish the Second Amendment so much, we don't think about it. And because it's so ingrained here as we're celebrating Texas's birthday today, the right of self-defense takes on a particular meaning. But out in California, it's under constant assault. My brother, he got involved with this group called Johnny Appleseed, which basically educates people. And he educated his son, educated himself on how to deal with firearms. Very proud of him for doing that, but he's more proficient at firearms than I am here, and he's out in California. And I think it's because of this liberal oppression in some states that drives a lot of common sense citizenry to seek out information that they're not getting from their culture or certainly their local government.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. I have a lot of friends in Los Angeles who have tons of guns and they go shooting all the time, and they take it a lot more serious over there. Not that obviously people who own guns in all over the country don't take it seriously, but like you said, they're being assaulted from the left nonstop. And I mean, let's be honest, that's the reason why the Second Amendment was actually written, to defend yourself against a tyrannical government. And I feel that in California, being a hyper-liberal state, they're on overdrive there.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yehuda Remer is our guest, folks, an Orthodox Jew and the author of this book, Safety On, an introduction to the world of firearms for children. Now, let me, since you are pals with our buddy Ben Shapiro and joined up with the Young Conservatives, I've got to ask you, as an Orthodox Jew, Alan Dershowitz jumped onto Fox News Channel here a couple of days ago and said the following. Listen to this.
I'm staying in the party because Ellison was defeated, and the Ellison defeat is a victory in the war against bigotry, anti-Semitism, the anti-Israel push of the hard left within the Democratic Party. Look, I wish that Perez hadn't appointed Ellison to any position in the Democratic Party, but I'm going to stay in the Democratic Party and work to try to move it toward the center.
Now, that was Mr. Dershowitz, who's a Democrat and also a Jewish man, and is saying that he is very worried about this strain of anti-Semitism in the Democrat Party. Are you worried about it too, Mr. Remer?
It's a great question. I think that there is a lot of anti-Semitism in the Democratic Party, and not just coming from non-Jews in the Democratic Party. I think there's a lot of self-hating Jews who lambast Israel and, Jews across the country, but then will use their Jewish identity to promote other things. And am I worried about it? I don't think I'm so worried about it. I think there's too many good Americans out there that if the Democrats ever really tried coming after the Jews in this country, I don't think it would ever happen. I mean, I know that might sound crazy to say. I lost over 30 relatives in the Holocaust, and I think there's too many good people in this country that would defend the Jewish Americans if, God forbid, it ever did come up.
From your lips to God's ears. And, of course, I think it takes people like you and people like me speaking out whenever we see this ugly head of anti-Semitism, or this ugly specter of anti-Semitism rearing its ugly head in places like the Democrat Party. We've got to shine a light on it to make sure that it's stamped out. Yehuda Remer, he's an Orthodox Jew and the author of this book, folks. Make sure you pick it up. Safety On, an introduction to the world of firearms for children. Mr. Remer, thanks a lot for being here on the Chris Salcedo Show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.